Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something literally all of us are dealing with right now, the massive psychological toll of our 24/7, completely relentless news cycle. I mean, we all see the headlines, we all feel the tension, right? So today, we're breaking down exactly why the state of the world might be making you feel physically and mentally unwell. But more importantly, we're going to talk about how we can actually start to heal from it. All right, let's dive right in. Let me ask you something. Do you feel it? Just that constant low-grade hum of anxiety buzzing in the background of your life? The absolute dread of checking the news every morning. You might feel like you're trapped in this tiny rowboat in the middle of a massive ocean of endless, reckless, political and societal conflict. It's exhausting. You're fed up with the politicians, the performative activists, the hate groups, and what just feels like the sheer overwhelming stupidity of it all. You might genuinely love your country, but you're starting to really hate what it's becoming.
And look, this isn't just in your head. You might actually be experiencing literal physical symptoms, a stress rash, insomnia, or just having that permanent tight knot in your stomach that never quite goes away. Feeling this fed up isn't just you being frustrated, it's an actual psychological injury. And here's an absolutely crucial detail from the research. If you have a history of trauma, especially trauma related to loss or betrayal, this constant public battling can feel like pouring salt directly into an open wound. Your brain is already wired to be on high alert, so when you see people fighting over things you deeply cherish, it triggers your absolute deepest fears of being completely powerless.
Okay, so let's move into Section 1, Understanding the Burden. We really need to look at the psychological diagnosis here. Psychologists actually have a formal clinical name for this. They call it collective distress. It's that overwhelming distress, the anger, and the total helplessness you feel just looking at the state of the world and your society right now. The biggest takeaway here is simply this: you are not alone in feeling this way. It's a recognized condition. Seeing people fight over your core values is basically a reenactment of your worst nightmares, and it just leaves you feeling profoundly powerless. And you know what makes this collective distress even worse? Something called vicarious trauma. Here's the wild thing. You don't actually have to be out there physically at a protest or in the middle of a literal fight to absorb the trauma. You absorb it secondhand, through your phone screen, your TV, your daily conversations. That secondhand exposure, it is more than enough to cause real, lasting psychological damage. Which brings us to Section 2, the neurological outrage trap. Why on earth can't we look away? Seriously, if this is causing us so much pain, why does it feel like everyone is completely addicted to doom scrolling? Well, the answer is pure biology. Let's walk through the sequence. Step 1, you see some outrageous content online. Step 2, and this is super sneaky, on a neurological level, anger actually gives you brief stimulation. It gives you this fleeting sense of purpose, of being right, of fighting the good fight. But man, it is a trap. Because step 3 is where your nervous system gets stuck in a toxic fight or flight state, flooding your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And that inevitably leads to step 4, absolute burnout, emotional exhaustion, and honestly, paranoia.
So this creates a stark contrast in how we approach our lives. It's surviving crisis versus maintaining your fortress. On one hand, you have this exhausting cycle of merely surviving from one isolated crisis to the next. In that state, you snap at people, you get manipulated, you just feel isolated. On the other hand, we have the vital necessity of finding balance to maintain your psychological fortress. Think about it. You cannot effectively stand up for what you believe in if you're constantly emotionally bleeding out.
Okay, let's take a literal breath and shift gears. Section 3, Reclaiming Your Mental Peace. We're going to go over 4 strategies right now. Think of this as your prescription for healing. 1. Gatekeep your mind. 2. Practice selective ignorance. 3. Find your lighthouse people. And 4. Focus on your sphere of control. And I want to be incredibly clear here. This is not about ignoring the world entirely. Not at all. It's about controlling your exposure to it so you can actually preserve your energy to be a part of real, positive change. Let's break these down, starting with strategy 1. Become the gatekeeper of your mind. You literally have to set strict limits. Our source recommends a maximum, like a hard cap of 15 minutes a day to catch up on the news. And then turn it off. No more scrolling in bed at 2 a.m. letting strangers raise your blood pressure. Turn off those constant buzzing news alerts. Unfollow accounts that consistently make you feel angry. This isn't ignoring reality. This is pure self-preservation.
Moving on to strategy 2, practice selective ignorance. This is a game changer. You do not need to have an opinion on every single controversy that pops up on your feed. You just don't. And even if you do have an opinion, it's completely fine to sit some of these battles out.
Just remind yourself daily, your personal peace is infinitely more important than trying to win an argument online with someone you'll never meet.
Next up is strategy 3, find your lighthouse people. Look, one of the absolute most damaging effects of all this societal chaos is feeling totally isolated, like you're the only sane one left. But there are so many others who get it. You need to combat this isolation by finding friends, family members, or communities who share both your core values and your exhaustion. People you can safely vent to without being judged.
Just imagine a dynamic where you can literally text someone, "I'm so fed up I could scream." And they just reply, "Me too. Let's talk about something else for a bit." The goal here isn't to build a toxic echo chamber where you just feed each other's outrage all day. No, the goal is to build a healthy support chamber.
And finally, strategy 4, fiercely focus on your sphere of control. You've got to let go of the absolutely exhausting, impossible task of reasoning with every hate group or educating every fake activist online. Trying to do that is just a guaranteed recipe for burnout. Instead, ask yourself, what can I actually influence today? Maybe it's your own health, your relationship with your kids, or a local cause right in your neighborhood.
Channel all that frustration away from endless digital battles and toward tangible, real-world actions. Go volunteer, take a long walk in nature, cook a really good meal, create some art. The source makes a genuinely beautiful point here. These aren't acts of surrender, these are acts of defiance. By doing these things, you are actively choosing to build and nurture in a world that is frankly obsessed with destruction.
Section 4, protecting your peace in a broken world. Look, we aren't pretending everything is magically okay out there, but we have to grant ourselves permission to set boundaries anyway. Now, if you're currently struggling heavily with the weight of the world, I just want to briefly remind you that there's a ton of further learning out there. Look into resources on identifying vicarious trauma or how to set firm boundaries with toxic people. Remember, it's completely okay to put yourself first. Like they say on airplanes, you've got to put your own oxygen mask on before you can help anyone else. So I'm going to leave you with this one final provocative question to chew on. What is one small corner of your world you can reclaim today? Really think about it. Actually, you know what? Once this explainer wraps up, I highly encourage you to log off, step away from the screen, and go take one tangible action